So Exploding Head Sessions is a monthly night where we kind of do everything really. We put on bands, we record the bands, I take the recordings away and mix it, sort of produce it, and then pass it over to Jack, who plays some of the tracks from each band on his podcast, hopefully radio show, when we get that back up and running again. So it's kind of like a way of us interacting with bands, and Jack dedicates a podcast to each of the bands.
You know, initially it was an idea. There was a lot of people doing sessions with bands, but they were all acoustic sessions, and it was just, we really wanted to get that live. Scuzzy, sorry, he's just spilt coffee all down him. You can't take him anywhere. So basically we wanted to do like Scuzzy, fuzzy loud bands. We want to just encapsulate that raw energy out and about, which you get when you go to these gigs, which you don't get to hear, you know, on recordings. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's obviously it's the night and it's the recordings, but it's sort of grown now because we've been doing it for over a year and it's, you know, been popular. It's feeling like it's kind of like documenting. Yeah. It's a way of documenting the scene, really, isn't it? So it's really like and that's what I think in all senses makes it different to other nights.
I mean, I remember when I played in bands and when I lived in Brighton, and any time we came up to London, it was just an expense that if we wanted to play in London, which we wanted to do, you have to appreciate that it's going to cost you something to do it. And if the promoter offered you some money to kind of help you out a bit, then it was like brilliant, that's great. But yeah, like Jack said, I mean, there's far too many of these kind of like pay to play shows, which I mean, unfortunately they existed 10 years ago when I was playing, and we used to try and avoid those shows at all costs. They're kind of like, if you bring X amount of people, then you'll get X amount of the door, and it's like, really, like, you're the promoter, like you're the person. If you're booking us as a band because you should be booking us because you think that we're a good band and that that you want to promote us as a band. So surely it's like it should be your responsibility to bring people on. Like obviously we're going to do our bit to bring people down, but that, and I think that kind of ties in a little bit with your previous question as well about why we're quite active on social media and stuff. And I think just in general, like it's a pride thing. Like for us, it's been nice being at the Locked Tavern actually, because the sound desk, it's a really nice place to stand because you can have the band right in front of you and then you have the crowd there. And I've had kind of moments where, like Ditz, when they were out in the crowd and everyone was going crazy, being able to sort of stand at the side and just like feeling really proud that you kind of brought this thing together. And then I think it is a pride in the kind of relationship that we've sort of developed with a lot of the bands that have played for us. And I think it's that thing of like, we're offering so much more than just, I want to put you on so that I can make some money out of having you down to play for me. So I think we have developed a bit more of a community vibe where we keep in touch with bands, like after, once they've played for us. And, we want, because we put bands on just purely because we like them, we want Squid in a year's time to be way bigger than we could ever possibly book them again, because that's kind of, we want to feel part of that as well.
I mean, that's why we do it. I think there's, I've done nights over the years, over the last sort of 10, 12 years, I've dipped in and out of it and doing online radio. And I think it's actually, there's a real importance. You need guys like us to do this, because not everyone will do it, but it just starts that whole movement. And all right, there's a lot less money in the music industry now than there was, but there is going to be some fat cat skimming it off the top somewhere, and that's the way it is, and I guess that's fine. But I think it's so important to have people at this level organising these nights and taking risks and booking these bands and giving these bands a platform to get to play. I've been in London for 15 years, and if you've been brought up in London, you've just seen how much it's become gentrified. And I think, the problem is people move to areas because they like the pubs and the places, and they get middle class and older, and then they want those places to close down because they're too noisy, and it's just really ridiculous. London's so great, it's such an amazing city, there's so much on, that you need an outlet for people to go. We don't want to all go to the O2 Academy to see Justin Bieber. We want to go and see a band that blows your ears off, where in the basement, and where the floor is absolutely filthy and there's beer, you get covered in beer and you slip over and your trainers get knackered. And it's just that really, these places go, it's just a problem. I mean, I think it's interesting, throughout history, gentrification's always happened, and things just move up, they just appear somewhere else. But it's just such a shame, because Hackney's just been such a hotbed of it for so long.
And also, we will just run out of space.
Yeah, well, there is.
Like, what used to be, think about how much stuff used to happen in central London, Soho.
Yeah. Yeah, all those
There were like venues like the Astoria.
Yeah.
You know, there was so much stuff actually in central London, and now,
JoJo's.
yeah, and you know, it then gets pushed out, and you know, so yeah, other places do pop up slightly further out, but now it's spread out that those places are getting closed. So what, we're going to keep going further out and further out, and so we literally just get to a point where nothing inside of Zone 4 anymore is like any kind of like creative hub. It's just complete soulless. And yeah, and the Hackney nightlife thing, that was an interesting thing. I need to find out a bit more about kind of where they're at with that, but I think that was a law that they were trying to introduce for new venues opening, where a new venue, they wanted basically all new venues to have like a closing time. I think it was like 11 p.m. or something like that, and if they wanted to open later than that, then they had to apply for a special license and basically just jump through loads of hoops and guarantee lots of guarantees that probably were ridiculously excessive and, you know, not particularly easy to adhere to, which for somewhere like Hackney, which, you know, it's known for its late night culture, and it's, you know, if you start to, which it looks like they're trying to do, to try and eradicate new places from being able to add to that, especially with other stuff closing down. If you're not gonna, if you can't replace those places, then, you know, things will just kind of die out.
I think that for me the shame about Hackney is that, I mean, it has changed an awful lot in the last 10 years, but it's still a massive den of iniquity. It's not like Hampstead. And it's just, why are you trying to enforce this now? You know,
the thought of what is quite amusing is that, you know, these places originally, and I'm thinking more on the kind of the clubbing scene, but these places are originally open because the police and the government were so sick and tired of basically people just partying wherever they wanted to, that they made spaces for people to be able to do it that they had some kind of control over. And it's just quite funny to think that, like, surely they must realise that if they continue down this path of just closing all these places down, then it's just going to drive people to just go back. Like, people are always going to party, people are always going to go out, and people are always going to want to put on events. So if you don't have places where they can do it, then they will just find places. And especially in this day and age where, you know, back in the 90s they had rave culture, and they used to organise like raves of like 20,000-30,000 people, like off like a junction on a motorway, and there was no social media, no mobile phones. This was literally people like passing numbers around and calling from phone boxes to get directions. Like, if people wanted to do the similar thing now, it would take literally like a few hours to be able to organise enough people to just turn up somewhere, and it will start happening. And then, you know, as soon as that starts happening, they'll have another massive panic about it, and it's just like, you know, which direction do they want to go in?
I mean, I think for us, we're just friendly guys. And I think we love what we're doing. And I think we're probably, you know, we're not too bothered about scenes or how we might be perceived. Do you know, I don't know, I think we're just maybe just slightly not, because we're not in that loop, because it's not what we do full time. It is like a hobby, and it's like a passion. I think for me that makes it easier. So I think I just do what I think is the right thing to do. So, like, you know, if a band is looking for a guitar amp in Nottingham because of their gig, they need it, I'm going to try and help them out if I can, you know. And I think we've built that. I think one of the things, because we make a point of paying bands as well, and Tim and I have never taken any money from this, and we've ended up out of pocket. You know, amount of hours Tim spends doing the mixing, and, you know, it's huge. I mean, for me, it's just putting on bands that I like, and I think it's now taking risks as well, because I think there's lots of other nights booking the same bands. I think sometimes it's very easy to look at a band and see what their following is on social media, and go and be sort of worried by the numbers and go, okay, they've got, you know, 500 likes, so they'd be a good main support. They'll bring down a few people, and this band has got, you know, 1,000 likes, and they could be a support. But for me now, it's just actually just finding bands. If we like the band, then I don't really mind what they're up to or where they're at. If I like them, I want to book them.